Welcome back to another video. This time we'll be taking a look at rule sets and taking a dive into automation rules and what makes up a well-rounded rule set for you to apply services to orders that come into your e-commerce system. What we've built here is a fully functioning rule set that we'll go through bit by bit so that you can understand how to build a well thought out setup for all of your couriers. The example couriers we'll be using will be as follows: Royal Mail, Parcel Force, DPD, and My Hermes. So with that quick introduction out of the way, it's great to have you back, and I hope you enjoy following along. First up is the condition tag 6. What this does is make sure we are not dealing with any Amazon Prime orders that may be coming into our system. This is because these will be handled by another rule set running alongside this one to apply Amazon's Prime orders only and get them the end services that have their 1 to 2 day shipping turnaround. Inside the condition, we simply set up order tag does not equal from the drop down for the comparison order tag 6. This tag is reserved inside of Linnworks for Amazon Prime orders only, and this condition ensures that any Prime order never enters through our main shipping rules. In keeping Amazon Prime orders separate from your main shipping rules, you can ensure those high priority orders are getting assigned the fastest services they need. Next up, we have the United Kingdom, European, and rest of world country checks. This is our 3 country zone setup where we take different shipping countries and split them into their own separate zones. In our United Kingdom condition, we have a shipping country check set up with a comparison of equals, chosen from the drop-down menu here. For the value, enter it as the United Kingdom. This check now means that any order that passes through will be bound for a UK-based courier. Slightly further down, we'll have our European countries list. This is another shipping country check with a comparison of matches one of. And for the values, we simply enter a line for each of the European member states. This means that we'll be able to assign services for EU locations that may have an effect on your bottom line. And finally, we have the rest of world setup. In this country check, we're again checking for shipping country, but with a comparison value of doesn't match any of. And we'll combine our 2 previous zones, the United Kingdom, as well as the EU member states, to create a international rest of world zone in case we receive any orders from any international destination. With this 3-pronged setup, you now have a complete country check that can start to push orders towards their correct services. Next, we have the postcode checks. These are additional checks you can set up once your shipping country has been established. What these checks do is help us filter further our UK domestic orders where we may have services and couriers that can't reach some unique destinations such as the Scottish Highlands, Channel Islands, and some areas in Northern Ireland. To set up a postcode check restricted, you can add the check for postal code and select the comparison of starts with one of. And for the values, if you want to restrict an entire postcode branch, such as AB1 to 21, you can just enter the first 2 letters of their postcode, AB. If it's more specific, and like in our example here for P03 and P04, you can add the actual numbers themselves to ensure that you are blocking just certain areas where your couriers cannot reach. Like with anything in the rules, when you set up one check, it's always a good practice to make sure that you set up the reverse check. So we need to know which of our items is able to travel through our main shipping rules. So for this, we'll have postcode check, unrestricted. And this basically works as the opposite end of the check. So these will be the postcodes that our couriers such as DPD and My Hermes can access, and we will allow services and checks to continue from that point onwards. You set it up with a comparison of does not start with any of, and then enter the same postcodes that you restricted in your restricted postcode check. Just to head back there for a second. This currently has an end action that sends restricted postcodes that we find in our rule system to a folder. You can set this up in a number of ways. Sending them to an order folder for isolation so that a member of staff can manually assess this order and assign the correct service, such as Royal Mail or a courier with a better network coverage than your current ones in your main shipping rules. Now we've checked the postcodes, our next step is to filter by the customer's chosen speed of service. Speed checks are associated with marketplace services using the channel integration screen to associate our two speeds that we've chosen, standard and expedited, to the various customer services that we advertise on our stores and online marketplaces. The speed check condition is again very simple but requires some work beforehand to set it up correctly. Head to the channel integration screen. Once there, click on the fifth icon for your chosen marketplace, edit channel shipping. Once here, you can add services using the add new button to select the different services that you offer on your marketplace and then associate them to our Linnworks services that we've created, standard and expedited. You can also create services for next day if you have 1 day special courier services that need to go out immediately, and this will help associate these speeds inside our rule set to make sure that we are delivering the speed that both of our customers would require, be it standard or an expedited order. To set these up, let's take a look at the condition. Postal service name will be the check that we need to establish, with a comparison of equals for the single value comparison. The value is obviously going to be standard, which we'll have created in Linnworks postal services section before we'd started this process. For expedited orders, it's simply the same. We just change the end value to expedited to make sure that we have postal service name equals expedited. Now with this speed check set up, we can make sure that we're pushing orders to the correct speed so that so this acts as our internal signposting, ensuring that after we've established where and how fast this order needs to be turned around, so we can fulfill orders using the services that keep us within our promised delivery commitments. Price checks filter our orders even further and ensures that we are taking into consideration the amount being spent by customers and allowing us to take automated decisions on their purchases to ensure that their orders are given a service appropriate to their purchase. By splitting orders by their order totals, it allows us to save money on the bottom line services we provide as end actions. Remember to always include an all-encompassing range of prices so that no orders can run through your logic unassigned. The price split we have chosen is threefold: under 10, between 10 and 40, where for larger parcels and orders we may decide to upgrade their parcel to a track service, and over 40, orders that come through here require tracking, as we are sending larger amounts of stock and we need to ensure these bulk orders arrive on time without going missing. So how do we set these up? Price checks are relatively quite simple. As long as you understand the different price points you want to introduce, you simply go and create a condition and select the check of total charge. We're looking for orders that are under £10 in this condition, so we have chosen the comparison of less than or equals to 10. Meaning any order that runs past this check will be an order under the value of £10, so that we know we can perhaps assign our cheaper services with a less stringent time sensitive arrangement. Our second condition is between 10 and 40. Again, we've chosen total charge, but we've chosen a range comparison of between and inclusive. If anything is over £10 and between £40, then those orders will run through our slightly larger checks. Here, they will be given slightly faster services based on the amount that they've spent and later on the weight of their orders. And finally, our third check, over 40, is going to be another check for a total charge with the comparison of greater than 40. This will ensure that we now have a full range of price checks available for any situation that can come up or crop up within our business for our UK orders. But we also have price checks for our EU countries list as well as some on our rest of world. These don't require as many different price checks, so we've just gone for orders under 10, who are likely to end up on more standard services, and then a reverse check to make sure that the check is complete, because otherwise, without something to account for items that are over 10 for our international orders, these would be unassigned. So we've created another branch of logic to deal with orders that are slightly larger and might have more items within them. Price checks are a great way to get into that final level of filtering to make sure that you are saving your money when you decide to assign these end services to all of your orders. Now, one of our final checks before applying services is checking weights. This ensures that the order items contained within the customer purchase doesn't exceed our shipping service end actions that we have chosen, causing us errors when we print if an order's weight is too large for a service and creating problems on the shop floor when we're trying to print our labels and fulfill orders. By creating another all-encompassing check, like we did with prices, we push each order towards an end service it can be fulfilled with. Combining weight checks with price checks, along with parcel size checks, ensures no parcels are rejected by our couriers and cuts down time manually reapplying the correct services and any shock charges should we decide to use an average weight service. Our UK setup has the following range of weight checks, each with their own limits. These are under 750 grams, between 750 grams and 2 kg, between 5 kg and 30, and a final check for any orders over 30 kg. This is set up so that under 750 grams will usually result in large letter services. Between 750 and 2 kg would be for orders that would most likely be parcels. 5 kg and 30 is for orders that are going to be fulfilled by our couriers. The final check is just so that if there are any orders that we can't fulfill with our range of courier services with a limit of 30 kg, they are sent back to our order system to be split into two parts and fulfilled on a service where we can send both parts of that order to that customer. We have a similar setup that's a little bit simpler down in our international orders. Under 2 kg and over 2 kg. We have a simpler setup for these orders with an over and under, because this allows us to find problematic larger international orders for splitting or sending them on our priority international services should their order go over our 2 kg checks. Let's take a look at the conditions. Starting with the UK, we use a weight check of total weight as the check that we want to select from the drop down. Less than or equal to is the comparison for under 750, because we don't want to see any orders that are over that going through this check. Setting up between 750 and 2 kg, we again choose total weight as our check and use the between inclusive range comparisons, setting up 750 over with the 0.1 there and a limit of 2 kg. Between 2 and 5, it's set up with another inclusive but we exceed the range of 2 kg and set the limit to 5 kg. Again, using the between inclusive comparison. Between 5 and 30 sets the limit at 5, and our final value of 30 kg. Again, using the total weight check and between inclusive as the comparator. For the over 30 kg condition, simply select again total weight as your check, use the greater than single value comparison and set it to 30 kg. This means anything travelling through this is over 30 kg and will be assigned to a folder called Manual Review for a member of our staff to look over this order, split it, and choose a service that we can fulfill it by so that we can get this order out as quickly as possible. Parcel size is how we will deal with orders that contain or have order items within them that will require a parcel size of a certain type to fulfill them. In our example, we will be using the Royal Mail size guide, which we have previously applied to every single item within our Linnworks system, with an extended property for size against every item that we have imported. These checks will act as the final measurement of the overall size of the parcel based on these extended properties. Let's take a look at one of these properties quickly. If you head over to your inventory screen, click the button and head to extended properties. You can see we've applied an extended property of the name parcel size, the value small parcel. Let's take a look at the conditions for the UK sizes. These are parcel size LL for orders within Royal Mail's large letter sizing, parcel size small parcel for Royal Mail parcels, parcel size medium parcel for large courier items, and 2 considerations for international orders for both EU and the rest of the world. These are parcel size under medium, which will include small parcel and large letter, and medium parcels for those parcels that will be deemed too large by the check and may require our member of staff to manually review it and split the order if necessary. Let's take a look at the UK conditions to see how we set these up. Inside the check, we select the check for an extended property value and then enter our parcel size extended property that we've created against all of our items. We then choose a comparison from the drop down, a single value comparison for equals, and then our value for large letter within that extended property value, which will be LL for the large letters. Looking over at the parcel size small parcel, again, we set it as the extended property value check and then use our parcel size extended property. We choose contains in this case because we would like to know if an order contains a small parcel item in any of the order items, that this will have to go via a small parcel. And then the value will be small parcel so that it can find the property attached to each of our items. For medium sized parcel, again, we choose extended property value and parcel size, choosing contains and medium parcel, meaning if an item or an order contains this property value of medium parcel, it will go through to our courier sized parcels. Now with parcels being checked, our weight and price filtering comes into play for those scenarios when light or large items try and throw our system for a loop. We have a check in place to ensure that orders get back onto the right track and end up with the correct end service without any errors for our shop staff on the floor when they're trying to pack and send out orders on time. End actions are how we apply services, send orders to folders, and apply different situational couriers at the end of the checks we have just gone through and set up during the rest of this video. With our filtered outcomes branching off into different scenarios, all that remains is for us to add the end services from our different courier integrations. That would include things like Royal Mail for orders under 10 that are within the LL parcel size. Parcel end services such as Hermes 3-day for our sort of standard orders that are going through small parcel sizes. And service upgrades for those orders that are more expensive in things like our over 40 check to make sure that we are assigning those the correct end courier services. With 2 zones set up alongside with checks for the EU and the rest of the world, we can now go through and apply our economy international services for our smaller, lighter, worldwide orders, and priority FedEx services for larger, more difficult to handle parcels. Let's take a look at some of these end actions, just so you can get an idea of what they look like. To set up an end action, you simply need to click on the type of action type you would like to apply. We mainly use assign a postal service to order and assign order to folders. If you run multiple locations, you may decide to send certain orders to different warehouses with different stock levels to fulfill them from locations closer to home or closer to those customers' destinations. Under Action Value, you simply select one of the courier services you have chosen on your various courier integrations within Linnworks. You can choose any service that you've added through any of these couriers, and they should all be shown in this list here. Now with end actions applied, we have our first draft of our rule set complete, and we're ready for testing. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope to see you back soon for our next video.